Welcome, YouTubers. My name is Sorta Michael, and I've never properly introduced myself to you. I've had an account for a long time, and I might be known in other places. But for now, I'm just streaming out here, seeing what the landscape looks like around here. So I'm gonna end up titling this video, "Where Have All the Legends of Artistic Originality Gone? Who or what do you support?" It's a little bit long of a title. I may take out that last part, throw it in the comments. But it's an honest question. And to be a legend, right? There's got to be a story already. The legend's got to be told by somebody. Got to be seen, got to be experienced, consumed, seen, whatever, observed, retold, heard it from somebody. But we look back, and I'm looking at the landscape currently. The internet, before the internet was consolidated and just taken over by main areas that where most people just conglomerate. The internet used to be a wide landscape of, you don't even know what's out there. You couldn't see all the internet. There was so much internet I felt when I was a kid. The amount of GeoCities websites was astounding to me. Shout out to anyone who's ever had a GeoCities website. But even throughout all the times of consuming great media, all the gamers out there, those that love to play Final Fantasy, those that love to play whatever type of game. But Final Fantasy is a good medium to start with. They came up with a story that they had no clue about. The first game had no story. It was loose. They were calling it Final Fantasy, and they wanted to call it Final Fight, I believe. That name was taken in Japan. Squaresoft was about to die, put out their last game called Final Fantasy. And for what it's worth, it took off. At that time, they were a small studio by comparisons now. They had a certain team with a certain mindset that wanted to accomplish something. And for what it's worth, they did it. And they said, you know what, let's keep doing that, right? And you see what the series is today. Love it or hate it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original creators, two guys. Those original comic books are the foundation for what everything else took off of. In a way, you could say all great things back then when they went viral, because even before the internet became viral, not everybody had the internet. It was basically on TV. It was in your stores, your comic book shelves, your video game section, your movie section. Whatever type of kid you were, there was something you were usually into. Very rare, you got those standalone psychopaths that, their only objective was to, try to murder kids when they were in young grades. You could tell that they were off. But for what it's worth, they were normal kids, and there was great media out. Whether you're from the 50s, you can call that the golden era, 40s, 50s, was the golden era of movies. It's gone. Nothing will be like that ever again. And it's held up, for what it's worth, that saying. But at great periods of times, there was vast amount of artists, designers, creators of all types of form and media, whether they did animation, coding, whether they were just experimenting with all different forms of media. There were companies willing to take great chances on things like what we now know as today as sort of the things we look back to as great. The Legend of Zelda, and for what it's worth, the second game right after that, I say is the best Zelda game. A Link to the Past is great. Everyone liked the first game better, but people constantly now, with just a few tweaks, modify the game so that it is now great to play. With just a few minor tweaks, like you could save, little odd things that would make the game better. People are constantly going back to old media and saying that the original was the best. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, Regurgitate. It's very divisive. There's a clear indication from the fans that played the game originally when it first came out and were, that's what got them really into that genre of gaming. It doesn't have to be if it's not your favorite Final Fantasy game, that's not the point. That opened up the door, then more so than any other video game out there. You could say Final Fantasy X was competing for sales or stuff, but I'm not talking about that. So what did they do, ladies and gentlemen? They tried to get back best the original vibe, right? Their fans were very clear. I want to see great graphics, updated battle play, but don't mess around with too much. You could add, but don't mess around with things too much. Be creative, but we want to see the story, and maybe you want to give us more of the story. So like there were the parts with Genova and Sephiroth that they could have easily expanded upon, but they did it all wrong, in my opinion. Where they failed is that they wanted to take part of the story and change it all completely, but by using something that is being done to death is called the multiverse. And there are plenty of critics out there talking about one way or the other. And this is not a new discussion per se. But why do they take part of the story and throw it back to those that were most loyal to them in the beginning? There's almost like a vindictiveness for people that created great things and then either new companies taking over and destroying it and taking all the loyalty of the past, discarding them, trashing the story or IP in a certain way that doesn't make sense. And we've seen it over and over again. They're just taking what was and distorting it. It is not creative in any way. And we know that. For a good long time, good directors for movies did not want to do sequels. Good actors didn't want to do sequels. The reason why is because if it was great, don't touch it. You've sort of explored what can be done. A good example of that is people loved the first movie, the Joker. I'll be honest, I've never seen it. But the Joker 2 that came out was absolutely trashed. There's a level of hatred that I'm not saying comes from the artists per se. They're the ones being given the paycheck, the role, the script, and they don't get to really deviate. But they're destroying what was great and what we loved. It's satanic. There are plenty of artists and things that just copycat each other and copycat already what was to boost themselves up, to make themselves great, instead of coming up with something original. You see, the creativity is being siphoned. The talent is being siphoned. We're at a time when nearly standalone artists, content creators in any way, almost have access to become their own studio. We're right there on the verge of maybe software, hardware, going to the levels where we don't need the big studios, the big names, those that evil funding of money that comes from shady places. But we're also at a time when I think we could lose all that. Where are the great creators of creating something new? They're busy just in South Park. Boy, oh boy, I look up to them in a lot of ways. I don't say it's the greatest thing ever invented, but boy, were they right on a lot of things. You could say the Simpsons were right. I think there's maybe two different things going on why we see so many things with the Simpsons. But South Park came up with it a long time ago. They nailed it. Member berries. Member berries? You remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I do. Going back, the first movie was great because they actually listened to source material, listened to the actual creators, did what fans kind of wanted them to do, and even upped the ante. Took chances. Where all that for movies 2 and 3 were not there. There was no true care. They were doing it for the wrong intention. Anytime any artist out there that considers themselves an artist anyway, if they create something with no true care and not for the right reasons, it's not going to come out great. Whether the client likes it or not, you're going to have a totally different view of it. I think so many people are creating art sometimes for the wrong companies, for the wrong reasons, and they know it. If there were actual people, there's so many talented people just on this, the biggest streaming platform, so to speak, out there is YouTube. YouTube has no competition, period. End of story. If you took any other streaming platform out there, combined them, and then multiplied them, they still wouldn't have it. There are some things that YouTube completely lacks, but they keep themselves safe, I guess, with that. It's very restrictive to stream on YouTube. But let's face it, are any other content creators streaming on multiple platforms? Not really. They should be. And I'll be honest, you know why the content creators don't do it is because they don't want to lose whatever income they're making here. So if they tell you to go somewhere else to another streaming platform, they're losing. You know what I'm saying? So it's partially their own fault. There should be more competition. If there was tons and tons of great new IP being created, totally unique and standalone, or collaborated, you could do that stupid multiverse thing. I'm a victim to those types of stories. But do it right. Do it creative. There's just so many people that like, well, what if we just take these things and mash them up together? Freddy vs. Jason. Fans were clamoring for it for decades. And it was done okay, but not to like, we've worked 20 years on this. You know what I'm saying? Mostly everything's a disappointment. And not against the artist. There's a lack of good story writing. That is a major component. And here's the thing, writing a story is artistic, but not in the sense that, you need to draw something, but you need to write something that you see essentially from beginning to end, where you can go through it and create it. And you got to have a great mind for that. I love that type of stuff. The YouTube audience here does not know that, I have over 250 pages written, but I still need to work on it. This is a long-term story that works great in book format, where you could write books of this stuff. I could see it in my head. I can go years in advance. But I also need to see the minute details. And I've been working on artwork for a while now. And I'll start to, as I go along, show through some of this. But I have more images than I'll ever be able to show you in one episode anyway. But for now, these are just going to be about rants and sort of where I am, so you guys can get to know me as well as the artwork. You might see a raccoon and a panda on screen multiple times. Those are my best friends out there. To the part of the main characters in my story, Neo's raccoon and Singing Pretty's panda. Maybe if you search for them, you might see some YouTube accounts, but I don't think they stream there at all. You'd have to find them on other platforms. But I have a whole story sort of written out, sort of among my good friends on the internet. So YouTube, I'd like to, down the road, introduce them to you. But it's called the Woodshed Chronicles. And it's something I've been working on since 2020, 2021. So eventually, you'll get to see some of that. But just the vibe of the artwork should sort of start to give you at least an idea of what's out there in my writing. I can't do music at the moment, so we're just keeping it music free for YouTube until I come up with a better solution. But again, going back to creativity, where is it in this world? We have to sort of, it's all over, but it's all standalone. It doesn't go very far. Great ideas sort of go viral on the internet. Maybe. But where's the actual worldwide changes that used to happen through art? It's usually just, sort of group-wide changes in specific areas of the internet. If we look to a lot of Hollywood music, all those people seem to be very compromised. It's plain to see. The great creators have to stand up in these times. But also, there has to be some sort of working together. You always hear the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of nothing." At so many times, people with great ideas, great vision, are doing everything themselves when they know they need a team. So much of this world is willing to not work with the rest of the world, especially on this grassroots content creator level. And I think without a doubt, I have a guy yelling hello outside. He wants to be heard. I've had a lot of, there's been a lot of fights outside in the area lately. It's been kind of fun. But nonetheless, you have people of all sorts of type around here. But true legends sometimes are not told by men, but by the monsters that couldn't kill them. Very true. You can call yourself a legend, and maybe you are in your group. But where are the legends that people do not deny? The ones that stood up for the rest. So many times you see this in what was it? Final Fantasy 14. I forget. I stopped playing games after PlayStation 1. I just lost a lot of respect from a lot of gamers out there, but that's fine. I'll take it. I can go into my history, but that's for another time. But so many great gamers came up with strategies to beat sort of these super bosses. And you would have Squaresoft or Sony coming out and saying, "Oh, we don't like the way you defeated that boss. We're gonna patch something in so that doesn't happen again," and come up with a new strategy. And whether that was right or not, that's sort of up to the gamers. But they didn't give up. They are some of the most resilient ones out there. Some of the best, well-written, spoken critiques out there are some of the games that people really enjoyed in life. Better than the movie critics, people. So I give a lot of credit to the gaming community. They're the ones that actually try to hold the corporate nonsense, backlash, all that stuff that ruins the art, that ruins either what was or what could be. So many things have not lived up to their potential. All for bad reasons, too. Things that you think shouldn't be there, could easily be fixed. And it continues to sit there and fester and, like cancer, destroy every industry it touches. And there's no simple answer. Many artists have tried to go out on their own to create their vision, their art, their comic, their movie, their animation, 2D or 3D, using whatever software they wanted and could, whatever they used, whatever they know, whatever was available. So at the end of the day, we need to get back to that. And to be honest with you, what do people really want? Do you want to continue to review garbage from garbage companies? Or do you want to start looking at what's out there in the real creative landscape? If people were really paying attention to that type of stuff, the other companies would start to fade away. If there was tons of great artwork, video games, movies, animations, books, whether it be graphic novels, comic books, written word, if that was truly supported on a wider level and not just through the same 20 companies that really just merge into 5 companies that merge into 3, you know what I'm saying? We don't need this. And we're on the verge of being able to actually compete with them. We have the talent. And to be honest with you, I'll ask again, where have they gone? A lot of them died out. A lot of them faded away, retired. We need those people to step up. There needs to be more collaboration, even training, sharing. Back in the day, you could find billions of tutorials online about anything. And it wasn't really done through video. A lot of it was done through pictures and text in the beginning, then with shorter clip videos, and then finally whole YouTube videos of training. There needs to be more people sharing. Instead, you don't get a lot of that. I know a lot of it they feel is proprietary how they do it. But the reason why a lot of people aren't doing so well is because they're being trained by people that have the intention of making the next generation worse. Because when you're never shown certain things or given proper training, explanation, you're going to keep people in a state of ignorance longer until they break out of it and say, wait a second, I can do it my own way. I have my own vision. Some people just need that little extra. And there's so many people out there with a good gift for being a teacher or helping others. There needs to be more of them. This world is filled with a lot of selfish content creators. And think about it, most of the content creation is about arguing for or against other people's content. There's very little original content creation being created versus the critique of the same 20 companies' content creation. They're keeping the conversations boxed. People are coming up with the same ideas because that's all that's been regurgitated for the past 20, 30 years. That's the only thing that's paying. That's the only thing people are hiring for. So I think, honestly, even the support has to change. The direction of it has to change. The desire for indie original content, original IPs that can't be touched and that catches so much fire, can't be duplicated anywhere else without it being called stolen. They're trying to definitely mess with the laws so that only the big companies could ever really own their own creations, while other artists, it'll be much tougher. Their artwork can get stolen, copied. And let's just face it, the big companies know they're not going to go after these other people that just take their IP and use it. They would look foolish going after the small, memer out there that just, takes superhero stuff all day and repurposes it, or takes movie clips and, just changes the text or something. We need original content creation, not the critique of regurgitated content. We need a lot more content creators creating original content, not just trying to work for the same 20 companies that so-called create content. They don't do it anymore. Those companies, at this point, we all know kind of everybody's worked for everybody almost. The ideas are kind of known. They steal from each other in the most legal way that they can. And then the rest is just trying to see who buys up what IP and shuffles it around like candy. It's literally creative vampirism, cannibalism of creativity. People are less inclined to create their own art than just copy the art of others, or take what already exists and just, change it around a bit. And for what it's worth, YouTube, you're the biggest platform out there. for what it's worth, for what we can do, there's no other platform out there that could do it this well. But I think if there were tons more of original content creation, considering that it's so stringent, you can't use music that you don't own, stuff like that. Even if I was to get my friend's music, throw it on there, and get his written permission, there's still a chance YouTube will say, you don't have the copyright permission, even if I've given them something written. I would have to jump through hoops just to prove it's really them. It is difficult, to say the least, where other platforms, boy, it's a lot easier. And I think a lot of content creators that are big made a lot of bad decisions by sticking with YouTube no matter what and not multi-streaming. Now, I have no following, no major following or anything, so I would have to start and grow. It makes no sense, but people that actually have a voice and come up with their own content, or at least their own words and graphics, you should be going into multiple areas and not caring, and you could promote all of them. It made no sense why you stuck with YouTube only when you've already built up such a great following. You could have actually created many competitors to YouTube by now. It needed a lot of different content creators that were good to stand up and actually do it. And they don't to this day. So I think content creators have to think differently if they want their content to truly reach everything and everywhere. And if you can actually come up with your own stuff and it's good, people will notice. You already have the audience. It's stupid to cover other people's content for your own content, or take other content from somewhere else and repurpose it and say it's your own content. I think it's well worth it to start coming up with your own, no matter what genre, style, whatever, as long as it's yours and unique. In a world where I think creativity and uniqueness we're losing it. You know, there's 10 million channels, but there's nothing on. And that's it's infecting everything else. The only thing that's going to change it are the real artists, the true artists. And for what it's worth, a lot of people putting art out there, it's not real art. When you look at something, ask yourself, am I looking at something that was taken from somewhere else? Whether it be the style thereof, the story thereof, the vibe thereof, or am I going to see something unique or different? And I think if there was a lot of great content being created, those that love to cover content creation, which is very important, I don't want to knock it down in any way. So you great critics, you great recappers, explainers, thinkers, writers, you have more great content to actually write about. So you can see, the bad out there will still be bad, but you'll have more great to tell. But there needs to be more artists doing it. So for now, I'm going to speak to the largest potential platform audience I could ever have. And if I, like the other platforms, one follower at a time, I'll earn every follow. And I'll give you a reason to come back or continue to watch. But sort of YouTube, this is my introduction. I'm sort of Michael. People call me Sword. I have a long history, sort of a history with that name. I'm sticking to it. But thank you, YouTube, anyone out there. I'm speaking to all the content creators. Be original. Create your own IP. Put it out there. I'm one to support other artists. And let's start lifting each other up instead of trying to bash each other down. I'll be honest, the art community, for what it's worth, artists are horrible to each other. Always have been. But you know it as well as I do. Edit that out. When a great band of artists get together to create great content, it works out great under the right conditions. Not all animators are modelers. Not all color artists love to draw lines. Sometimes people just love the small detail. People love the big picture. A good leader understands every team member's weakness and strength and knows where they shine. And a good leader can fill in for any position. But that doesn't mean that the leader is the best at everything. That's why they have a team. Because they understand the greatness in others. And when people are realized and actualized and allowed to do it, you come up with great things. Where you see a progression over time, like Final Fantasy. The first one, groundbreaking for what it was. Second one, not as good as the first one, had a lot of problems, but also had some good strengths. The third one, better than the last two. The fourth one, better than the last three. People say 5 is very underrated, and that's underplayed. And everyone loves 6. 6, they say 6 is better than 7, definitely. Final Fantasy 7, a lot of people say that was the best one. So on and so 8, not everybody, mostly nobody says 8 was top tier. 8 had a lot of problems. And the best part about 8 was the opening to the game. That opening sequence set us up thinking that we're walking into greatness. And boy, it was slow to go on delivery. 9 was when the OG crew was out. This was the best that it's ever going to be from us. Goodbye. And a lot of people love 9. The art style was not as well received, but the gameplay mechanics, the CG cut sequences were the best we've ever seen. It was smooth. No, like we had, and now with the mod of updated textures, the game looks beautiful for people that play the mods. So on and so forth. When you put true care into things over time, you can build stuff that's great. And it's a combination of letting people, building a team and letting them do what needs to be done, what they're known for, where they shine. And so often now, you have people that are just trying to do it all themselves. And they're, like I said, it'd be better if we were collaborating as content creators, actually creating content that competes with the biggest companies on the planet. Because as we know, YouTube has the ability to deliver numbers bigger than TV. And in a lot of cases, bigger than movies. We gotta work together and do it. We gotta support each other. The support has to be there from the audience. And that's a special relationship between artist and viewer. There were some paintings that painters have made throughout the ages that they painted, and they said, I don't think I'm ready to show this, for whatever reason. And they usually faced it backwards against the wall. So if anybody came into their studio or house or wherever they were painting, nobody would see it. And I think good art, when it's ready, it's ready. And I think we're at a point in time when either the artist is ready to create their own content, create their own IP legacy, instead of just rehashing what was. So YouTube, think about that. But to those out there listening elsewhere from other places, thank you for listening. This is 𝕎𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕟𝕚𝕛𝕝𝕙𝕠𝕠🠧 the Woodshed Chronicles, which at some point I'll start to show you what that's about. But say hello to the two best characters out there, Neo's raccoon and Singing Pretty's panda. Neo and Singing Pretty are two streamers that have influenced the Woodshed Chronicles more so than any other streamer out there. There's another guy out there. He's weird though. Got no face, red eyes, and he wears a black hoodie. Nobody has ever seen his face. He's a strange dude. But he has a lot of words and stuff that make sense to me. There's another guy too, the Fallen One. You don't see him a lot in the story per se. But like I said, me and him will go at it from time to time. He's very stoic. It's always been a draw. But the Fallen One's superpower, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let you in on a little bit of the story here. But that guy, he can get to and from the store, any store, anywhere, at any time, in under 5 minutes. He's never failed. We've heard him live before, no matter time or whatever. When he has to go to the store and says he'll be back, in less than 5 minutes, he's back with food for everybody. It's astounding. So it's just one of his superpowers. But he is also the main cause of the Toast Core Crisis battles. A YouTube video I put out before that probably YouTube does not understand. But for the YouTube audience out there, one day you will. There's a lot of creativity and story out there that we all could share and benefit from. We just got to be brave enough to create it and not have to sit there and recreate IP, regurgitate IP because that's the only thing selling. Let's change that as artists and basically take back what we started as artists, what we started as content creators before the big companies ever decided to buy the idea up. Let us all create instead of recreating.